Are you a fellow science enjoyer in Civ 7, looking for ways to make your gameplay even that much better? Well, you're in the right place. Hey everyone, this is Connor from Haus, here today to talk about science in Civ 7, give some tips, tricks, considerations, things you may not have thought of to see if you can level up your science game in Civ 7. So let me just start off by saying that for me, science has always been my favorite way to play Civ games. Something about it is just fitting of maybe the point in history that we're in now where technology is such a huge part of life, and that's kind of the biggest advancement that I'm living through in my life. Or maybe it's just the way the gameplay feels, but either way, I've always been a science player dating back to the early Civ games, and that's no different in Civ 7. And as soon as Civ 7 came out, I immediately started a game with Harriet Tubman, with the Mayan Civ in Antiquity, and quickly fell in love with science in Civ 7. So I want to talk today a little bit to the newer players that maybe need to get a grasp on science in general, and then also maybe to the more of the veteran players who are looking to kind of optimize and refine their strategies. So starting with, just a top-down view, the overall way to play science in Civ 7 is just to get your science yields as high as possible. I mean, throughout a game, that is something that if you're doing that, you're going to be moving along the right path in some way. But each age is a little bit different. In Antiquity, you're trying to unlock codices, and you do that through a lot of the tech masteries along the tech tree. In the Exploration Age, you're trying to optimize yields on single tiles and kind of just get, honestly, just insane yields on tiles using specialists, things like that. And then in the Modern Age, obviously, you are completing the space race victory condition to win the game, which just honestly requires you to progress the tech tree and build a few things on cities. And those are the bare bones of how you win a science game in Civ 7. But I think in order to achieve that the most optimally, I have 5 general tips and tricks that I think all players should consider when playing science in Civ 7. So number 1 is going to be on the tile improvement types you are looking for. I think you should focus on 3 primarily, and in this order, I think you should focus on production, science, and food. So let me explain why. So production is obviously going to help you to build the things you need to quicker. When you're in the Modern Age and you're trying to complete those final space race buildings, you're going to need production to do so. There's a few buildings you'll actually need, like the aerodrome on your tile, in order to complete certain projects. Science is obvious. Science you need on your tiles in order to get overall science in your empire. That overall number is going to be in the top banner of your screen, but you still need to work on getting those through tiles, even though there are some other ways to get them as well. They're always good to have on tiles. And then food being the last one. Food helps your cities to grow, which eventually leads to overbuilding, and eventually leads to specialists, which turn into huge science generators, especially when you get later in the game. This is not to say that gold and culture don't have their place in a science game. There are plenty of times where culture can really help you, and gold is kind of a resource that is always helpful, but they are lower as far as priority goes as compared to production, science, and food, at least as I see it. My second general tip is to, when you're going to settle towns and maybe even your first capital, is to prioritize settling near resources. So ideally you find maybe 2 to 4 resources within the radius that you can work tiles on in your city, so within a 3 tile radius of your center point. And you want to especially try and get those resources to where there is a gap in between them, or maybe there are 2 to 3 resources bordering a single tile, and then that tile will be one that you in particular want to look for science and production in order to increase those yields because of their adjacency bonuses. Another way to do this is to also look for spots to place wonders. A lot of times wonders can provide adjacencies to different things as well, but in general, resources are such an easy way to achieve this in Civ 7. Plus, each resource gives you an inherent bonus of some kind, which should help your empire to stay pretty well-rounded and can even help with the economic legacy path at different points. Our third tip is that generally, Civ and leader combinations are going to be really key. So, for example, if you're playing with a leader like Confucius or Harriet Tubman, maybe with a Civ like the Mayans, you're going to have a much easier time generating science and also setting yourself up for the long term. A lot of the science improvements I was able to get from the Mayans early game paid off extremely well late game when I was playing as America in my Harriet Tubman Let's Play that you're watching on the screen right now. I credit a lot of my overall yield just to playing Maya early and getting some of those benefits from the vegetated tiles and different things like that. So this one may sound obvious, but make sure you are picking a leader that you have a plan to synergize with science, and also keep an eye on your civs and also how they progress through each age. You know, it's one thing to pick a good antiquity age civ, but if you don't unlock an effective exploration age civ, you may end up like me in this Let's Play where I had to play as the Incans in exploration, which did not feel like it really helped my science overall, outside of getting Machu Picchu, which did provide me some great yields, but overall that really didn't help my overall science trajectory, and my exploration age suffered because of it. Our fourth tip is, even regardless of if you're playing Harriet Tubman or not, is to use the steel technology espionage action on cooldown. This action can provide you so much science throughout a game, and it is one of the only ways to leverage influence as a way to get science. So again, we have to think, we're trying to get as much science as possible using any and all means as we can throughout a game, and this is, influence is a currency just like anything else, and you can spend it on different things throughout a game, sanctions, denouncing other projects, but this is one of the only ones that gets you massive lump sums of science. And again, it's going to depend on your play style and the situation of the game. Maybe it's better to go with the project where you're going into an agreement with another leader and getting science that way, but I tend to think that this is the best way to use influence in order to get science in Civ 7. And on that note of influence comes our fifth and final tip, and that is to prioritize city-state relationships with scientific city-states specifically. If you're playing for science, there's really no reason to go for a cultural city-state or a military one, but if you see that blue beaker icon next to a city-state and you're playing science, that is worth the influence because of what you get for establishing friendship with them. You get a lot of great benefits that can help your science, and is just another unique way to, again, leverage influence, another currency that you have, in order to maximize your science yields. And I'll quickly close out by saying this list is not exhaustive by any means. So, obviously we haven't talked even about gold as a currency. So gold can be used to purchase science buildings and things like that. You have to be balancing having a military throughout a gameplay as well in order to keep your empire rounded. You've got to have culture still. You may have a wide or tall play style. This depends on seed. Basically, there are a lot of different factors that are going to come into a play during a game of Civ 7 that impacts your ability to win with science. We think, though, that these 5 things in general are ones that all players, just about regardless of game context, should be able to leverage in order to win science games in Civ 7. So, I hope this video helps you, especially if you're a newer player trying to get your bearings in Civ 7 for the first time. Hopefully this can help you to get that first science victory. I've got the conclusion of my Let's Play coming up very soon with Harriet Tubman in America that I've been playing since day 1 of Civ 7. And you're going to get to see, potentially, a science victory in action through that. So make sure and stay tuned to the Civ House channel to see more content like this, like my Let's Play. We've got guides and other content coming out all the time. So if you appreciated this content or enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe. We are a growing channel, very young still in our infancy covering Civ 7. So we always really appreciate the support you all can give us. But that is going to do it for us here today at Civ House. So from our house to yours, we hope you'll join us for one more turn. We'll see y'all next time.